All right, welcome to all of you, all the panelists and everybody else on the call on this fifth conversation that we're having and last of this week. And this is going to be an interesting discussion on food and beverage. Let me give a quick round of introduction to all the panelists over here. We have Rajiv Agrawal, Director and CEO of Nilons, the largest manufacturer of pickles and also other make at home ingredients, and we'll be looking to understand more of RTE and the home ingredients category from you, Rajiv. We have Ankur Sharma from head of planning and logistics of Rocket, and we'll be hearing more from nutrition perspective, very important in the post-COVID scenario from you, Ankur. Suresh Reddy, supply chain head, Unipic, joining us from Bangalore. Only person I've seen this week in office on the camera. So a very critical category of essentials. And Suresh will be giving us perspective of that. Umesh Madhyan, AVP Supply Chain Strategy, joining us from Coca-Cola, one of the largest brands in the world. And he'll be representing the non-alcoholic soft drinks beverage category, important to us. We have Akhil Srivastav from AB InBev, Director South Asia, the largest producer of beer in the world, and he'll be presenting the alcohol beverage category predominantly. I know you have now started some non-alcoholic beverages, but that's not what we know you for. And then we have Girish Venkata, who would be representing from Hatti Kapi, the dining out segment. He's the director sales and operations with them. Girish has Girish, have you joined? I just could hear you.
Yeah, I joined.
All right, would you be able to come on camera, or would you be audio only?
Audio only.
Okay, no problem. Welcome, Girish. I was just talking about you. And Girish comes with a lot of infrastructure experience as well, having spent a lot of time with GMR and also academic experience, a great teacher in the university. So a lot of good perspective that we expect from him from the dine out perspective. So very wide and almost covering all aspects of F&B category over here. Let me get started. And what has been a precedent of this Anamind conversation, that before we get started, I ask one ice-breaking question, a quick yes/no kind of a question. And for you, my question is that, do you think that the eating habits or consumption of the consumers would fundamentally change after this whole fiasco of COVID, especially after this lockdown? You think our habits are in for a fundamental change? Your answer could be yes, or your answer could be maybe in short term, but not fundamentally, will probably slip back. I'm starting from my left to right. I see Akhil first on my screen. So Akhil, what's your quick answer?
So partly yes, people will start cooking more at home probably. Husbands, if that suffice a bit of it.
Okay. Ankur?
Yeah, I think definitely yes. There will be a change in the consumption pattern also. So I think people will move more towards nutrition segments and immunity booster kind of thing. So people will move into that direction in terms of eating habits.
Sure. Suresh?
Yes, 100%. Because people will go out for dining much, so they will prepare home, or they will get the packaged well. I mean, 100% yes.
Okay, Umesh?
Yes, I think definitely a change for eating habits. Of course, mostly between veg and non-veg. I think people have already started to choose non-veg less. I don't know if that's differing or that's completely going to vegan or veg food. But drinking also, I think, will change. People will drink more, especially after the lockdown.
Okay, so everybody is very optimistic about their own category. Rajiv, would people consume more pickle as well?
In the medium term, no. I think the answer is yes for the medium term, but in 3 to 4 years, it will come back to normal. And a lot of comfort food will be made and consumed at home.
Okay, interesting. Girish, what do you think?
I see definitely there will be shift towards the healthy food. Especially vegan is the very new phenomena. According to me, I will be betting big on vegan foods.
All right. Thank you. Good to know. A very uh, general acceptance on there will be a shift, and everybody seems to be very optimistic as well for their own company, so which is good to know. So let me get started, and I would like to start with Suresh, with you first, representing the essentials. I know we have been reading a lot as a consumers. We have been, making trips to the shopping stores, trying to scramble and get things we can. How has it been on the ground for somebody like you supplying essentials in this last 1 month? And how do you see things changing? How do you see any change in the patterns from here onwards? Just to give you a feedback, and I am a big fan of Unibic, and I never saw it out of stock in the last 6 weeks. But I also saw that those big packs were missing, and then we saw only those smaller packs, though everything was visible. So give us a sense from the, on the ground, and what have you been working on, and how does things look from here on?
Thank you, Rishi, for a fan of Unibic. See, we see that from the day when 24th, our Honorable PM declared lockdown, so with immediate effect. So people got scared, and we are also, I think, 3 to 4 days when our entire operation got disrupted. 27th, we thought, because a lot of inquiries are coming and stocks has literally moved up from shelves wherever supermarkets, and I think big supermarkets not allowed, small standalone supermarkets and all. We started getting calls and everything. So because biscuit is the at least immediate hunger. I mean this one. So then immediately then we started operations immediately by our team. Our team also scared because of this disease is not a small one. It is a pandemic. So everybody is scared to come out and do their job on the workspace. So we called some people and we make them understand, and we feel that it is not our job. It is we are servicing the society. We take the examples of the entire doctors, nurses, and polices and all, how they are helping to the society. So we feel that ours is most essential product compared to after staples and pulses. So we want to take this as an opportunity and give our respect to the consumers and reach to the customer. We feel this is as an opportunity for us. Then every entire our team, initially we started with supplies, then from factory team and whatever the government rules and whatever the precautions to be taken to safety themselves and as well as our customers. So that we taken care and started operations, and we succeeded to reach to the maximum wherever it's possible we can reachable across pan India, wherever we have the stock and wherever we were holding the stock, and factories slightly started the production. I think since from last 6 weeks we done extremely well, and we reached at all the maximum of the stores. So that we can say. If you are asking me next question, how it is going to be the future looks like. So I think initially first question you asked, now when dining, people stop when they stop going to out for dining and all. So everybody prefers to have food at home, but wives can't prepare entire their meal range. Presently, if we say pre-lockdown, at least we'll have 10 to 50 times different items outside food. But now people reduce it maximum. So that now in home something else. Wives can't produce every day new things. Hopefully, packaged food which can have longer shelf life. Hopefully, our consumption will increase in coming days.
Okay, so you feel there would be a big shift towards packaged food, and are the factories now operating at 100% for you at least, or they are still?
No, 100% not there. So around 50% which government has given approvals. So by maintaining the distance and taking care of people's health concerns and all, so we are 50% of capacity. And so we are, even our production planning also moving towards from normal healthy biscuits, which give immense power, which is our daily health we have so many ranges because Unibic is the pioneer in healthy product. We are in first into the sugar biscuits. We are into daily digestive. We have 6 ranges, start from ragi to till multigrain, which can give immediate immunity power to the body. So, so that is the advantage we have. We have very pioneers and different products than compared to any of our competitors. So we are concentrating more towards healthy type of.
Well,
Sure. Thanks, Suresh. And we'll talk more about that in the next. Sorry, was somebody saying something? I would like to go to Rajiv next, from the essentials to the home segment. And we hear Suresh talking a lot about cooking and eating at home. So Rajiv, how do you see things, and how has been your journey for last 6 weeks? What are the changes you have seen, and how you manage things? How do you see things going forward in the short term?
You see, when this initially started coming in, much before the Janata curfew, based on what the experts were saying, we came to a conclusion as a company, we will have to live with the virus for quite some time. And because if that is the case, from day one, we want to be in production and be in the shops. So the immediate challenge we faced was to get approval from the district collector, and based on food items, we got initial approval for 30% manpower. Now the approval stands at 50%, and some of our categories, saw unprecedented demand, like soya chunks, like ginger garlic paste, and then sauces, all the Chinese sauces, ketchup, and all. We are known as a pickle company, but we have a lot of assortment, including pasta and all. And the immediate challenge was, people we thought need not feel insecure. If they are insecure, they will not deliver. So from day one, we announced there will be no pay cut. So that insecurity got taken care. And then second challenge was how to keep our people safe. If we need to ensure last mile delivery, our 800 people feet on street has to work safely. So we gave them the option that you work from home, take orders on phone. Day one, we didn't stop even for a day. As Suresh was mentioning, there was a paralysis for 5-6 days. We came, so we were staring at about, achievement of 20-25% of our target, which was set in January. I'm happy to say, as Suresh would have also done much better than that, we closed at 101% of our April target. And all our people are working from home, taking orders. There have been mechanisms set up through WhatsApp and other means where they remain productive. We announced incentives for working from home, but we also face supply chain issues. The packing material factories are not working. They are in red zone, and initially they were not one of the factories which were allowed to operate. There were logistics issue. Drivers were scared. So in a small place like Jalgaon, where we have our factories, availability of trucks was very low. Then migrant labor had already fled, or they were not allowed. And there were regulatory issues also, right from local panchayat, who would want to dictate, no, today we want to observe a Janata curfew because we want the village to be safe. And right from getting permission, passes. So we felt that the normal people who are in charge of those things are not able to.
Rajiv, we lost you. At least I can't hear Rajiv.
Yeah, we are.
Rajiv?
Yeah, we also can't hear him.
Rajiv, we can't hear you.
Maybe try switching off your video. Okay, I think we can come back to him when he's back, Rishi.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Right, sir.
Yes.
Yeah. So that we started arranging passes for distributors, started arranging permission for the through writing letters for our packaging material suppliers that how can we produce unless we have a back-end connectivity. And the transporter needed a phone call from me to reach that inflection point कि और किसी का गाड़ी लगाए ना लगाए, Nilons का तो गाड़ी लगाना पड़ेगा. So, and in terms of taking payment from our super stockist and all, normal collection people or commercial people could not do the job. So in this period, for a medium scale enterprise, it was necessary to intervene from the top. And that helped a lot in terms of arranging timely permissions. You would be surprised that some of our categories saw a 6,000% increase. And some categories were from hero to zero. Pickle was one of them. So
Okay.
I think safety, insecurity of people, and one more worry we have is that there is a mass scale destruction of, we depend on middle class. Our kind of products is a middle class product and they drive our company. There has been a mass scale destruction of purchasing power in terms of a lot of people losing their jobs, losing salaries, or deduction in salaries, where they will have to look at where to save. So that is one of the, I would say, issues that we are staring. It may come up later during the, living with the virus kind of thing, that after 3-4 months, people start to adjust their assortment. And in the medium term, there will be an adjustment in the assortment that the consumer will make. So all these 8 or 9 issues, the company was, I was very, upfront that let's handle it, and kept the, through conference calls with all the teams, 20-30 conference calls during the day, keep their morale high. And we played a little bit of this card also, that we are, food army, kind of semi-corona warriors, which has to make available the food. You have to serve the Annadata Nilons as well as serve the nation. So I think all of that worked, and we ended the month very good. Thank you.
Right. Great, Rajiv, and congratulations. Finally, good to see some good news in terms of sales. And I think very similar sharing of sentiment with Suresh in terms of being a food army in this crisis. You also brought about an important point about how much of customer wallet share you'll get as we open up, and that takes me to Girish, from home to outside in the dining world. And Girish, I know obviously your all your outlets would be closed in this time. So I won't ask you about the painful lockdown period, but I want to know how you see things panning out as we open up, from next week or whenever, different in this new world of social distancing. How do you see, and how do you plan to get the customer footfalls back, apart from the online that you would be doing? We had this slogan of a lot can happen over coffee, but that may sound very scary in the new post COVID world. So how are you guys strategizing around it?
Thanks to the lockdown, last 40 days has given me opportunity to spend time with family, obviously at home. Next thing is, this last 40 days has given me opportunity to look back, because the life was very hectic in the last few years at Horticopy. We were expanding. Currently, we are about 110 stores, spread over about 110 stores, spread over about 10 cities across India. And the best part of Horticopy right now is that we are spread in different verticals. Means we are in airport, we are in commercial main streets, we are in corporates, we are in B2B, B2C segment, we are in cinemas, hospitals, everywhere. But in spite of we are putting the risk, spread out our risk. Very unfortunately, the current pandemic has given us a jolt that everything is shut down. We thought that at least hospitals will run. We are there in Aster Hospital, we are there in MSR Hospital. Even hospitals we were asked to shut down. So very challenging scenario. So airports, obviously, the travel has taken a big hit, and we are there in all the 6 airports in India, starting from Bangalore, Hyderabad, Goa, Chennai, and Calcutta and Delhi. So what we see is that next one good thing. I mean, I read a lot, and one of the key consumption of the product which has been moving across the world is the coffee. So we have got a lot of hope for that. Coffee, as you rightly said, lot can happen over coffee, and definitely coffee will be the key booster in the coming days. Having
Okay.
said that, we being in a small format, we see a lot of opportunity in terms of commercial stores, but not in the corporate, because corporates, we already got intimation from Infosys, TCS, everywhere, that mostly the number of people who are going to come back to the campus will be less than 50%. We don't know the exact number.
Mhm.
So because a lot of work from home culture has already begun, and we see that there will be a drop in terms of footfalls inside the campus, IT campuses. Obviously, the airports also will take time. At least easily, the airport or the travel segment will take at least 3 to 4 months, according to me. And then the entertainment segment, we are there in PVR across about 50 PVRs across India. So PVR also will be a big hit. Sorry, big. We are taking a hit. Having said this, what we see is there are two bright spots emerging.
Okay.
One is the online delivery system. We are
Mhm.
open at Indiranagar right now, at Indiranagar, Koramangala, and Alsur. We are doing a fairly good business in three stores online. The last
Okay.
2 weeks, almost we have completed more than a lakh of rupees of business. I mean, that may be small number, but what we see is that that will be the future with, with the Swiggy or Dunzo and Zomato. And another thing we are going to see is the health menu. As I initially started with the vegan, I said, and health menu. There will be complete shift of the consumer in terms of health menu. So, and we being in a small format, definitely instead of dining, people will try to come and have a short eats at our
Takeaways.
small format stores, and there will be growth. See, obviously the food, people, you cannot take out food from the individual's life. Food, especially the coffee or tea, the beverages. So there will be
Mhm.
growth. The only thing is we see a initial next 1 month or maximum 2 months, there will be slow in terms of the consumption pattern. But going forward, we see a bright future in terms of even coffee powder. We are seeing a huge demand for our coffee powder in terms of online. So we are planning to enter into tier 2, tier 3 cities in the
Okay.
state, and distribution we are planning to
And
strengthen
this is
up.
for the coffee powders.
That's right.
Okay. Okay.
So
And I wanted to
we are,
ask you, sorry, go ahead, finish it.
yeah, sorry, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you. I also read that there is also a thought process. While we see that the general thought process is that the restaurant business will take a big hit. Probably people will stop dining outside, or especially the luxury ones. But there is a contra thought process which says that possibly there will be a win situation for the restaurant, considering that there is a inability to produce food items that people can pick up from the stores. So there would be a lack of supply. The cost probably will be much higher. We'll see prices of products going up, which would mean that the probably the cost of dining out may turn out to be cheaper for a family than cooking at home at many times. And this could be a Western thought process, but just not truly Hatti Kavi, but as from the industry perspective, you think there is any merit in that argument as well?
No, I don't agree with this merit. The reason for that is the people are right now, safety is the critical thing more than the cost.
Hmm.
So people will be trying to cook food at home, and dining out It'll easily take minimum 6 months to come back to normal, unless a vaccine comes out.
Okay.
So there will be only small formats will be flourishing, and the online, and people will definitely will be cooking. I see. I mean, I'm going to grocery store almost alternate days. I see a huge. My friends are working in Reliance. They see almost 100% rise in terms of the grocery sales. For example, Reliance, one of the Reliance Smart in Bannerghatta Road, almost the sale has doubled. They used to do 7 to 8 lakhs. Now it is almost 15 lakhs a day. So
All right.
there will be consumption will be at home, but rather than at outlet level.
Okay. Thanks, Girish. And that brings me to the beverages guys. Umesh, to you first. Now with the dining out, work from home, so offices closed or working at a low capacity, airports less, so all your tourism less, so all your leisure and happy time drinking is out. How do you see things panning from here onwards from the soft drink beverage perspective in the short term and
So,
go ahead.
yeah, good afternoon, everyone. So on the E&D as a category, definitely E&D, Horeca both will take a huge hit. So cans and those kind of packaging designs definitely are going to face some heat for this whole piece, and we all are aware that at least from 6 to 12 months from now, this is going to be the new normal, and it will not very soon become normal. So we are aware of that fact. So I would come first to the problem to answer this, because this is one of the part of the solution also. The first problem in the entire chain during the lockdown and immediately post the lockdown is demand planning and SNOP. How exactly do you forecast in such an unprecedented scenario where you actually can't forecast at all completely? So the one big action which we have taken is rationalization of the catalog in the interim. So we are right now not looking at the whole range at all. Anyways, you guys already know that the biggest hit is to the people who are seasonal, because this has actually got hit into the summer season, and we have a large part of our revenues coming from this portion of the year. So definitely that is a hit for us from a revenue and a OI perspective. All of such organizations have gone at least 2 to 3 years back, minimum. It could be more. So the PNL, how it looks like right now at the end of 2020 will be almost equal to 2016 or 2017. So that is going to be a huge hit. People will definitely talk about productivity and savings more. There will be more pressure on correcting the base, as well as ensuring that your PNL looks decent for end of 2020. So the one big action which we have taken is we have significantly reduced the range, about 2 to 300 odd SKUs. If we sell in a particular geography, we will be selling less than 50% of it. So we are trying to produce only something which is easily forecastable, easily controllable, and we know that the consumption is very certain. So that's how we are trying to solve this problem, and that's how we also see the demand for the next 6 to 9 months. When I said, of course, beverages will go up, it is more home consumption. There are channels like e-com and modern trade which are extremely promising right now. The whole ratio has completely changed. This will obviously push us to rethink on our supply chain agility, on our supply chain nimbleness, and our supply chain responsiveness to the market, because gone are the days where your GT will be 80-90% of your business. I don't think any e-com, I don't think any modern trade is going to leave this opportunity of increasing share organically. So I think that is definitely going to happen for the next 6 to 10 months. And accordingly, right now our strategy is more to be profitable and more to be having a less number of SKUs in the market, rather than more harping on range, which was the strategy exactly a quarter earlier, where we were trying for a share of throat. We were trying to produce every range, including milk, including coffee and everything. I don't think so. That's the strategy going forward in the interim for now. So that's how we are trying to tackle this, Rishi.
Right. Thanks, Umesh. Very interesting. And I saw that in some of the other industries as well, the trimming of the portfolio. And I wanted to ask about that from others as well. So thanks, Umesh, for that perspective. Akhil, how about you? And we've been missing beers a lot, as I was saying before the start. Lockdown would have been much more pleasant if we had supplies from you guys. But and you said you also sitting on the inventory which is staring at the expiry dates. And you have a brand called Corona. So how do you how are you strategizing to get out of this?
Yeah, I mean, let me take a step back, and whatever I heard from our fellow panelists is really reflective. First of all of you, please remain safe. I just saw a WhatsApp which says the green zones today are like watermelon. You know, you open it and you will get red inside. Right. So that means the situation will be very, very dynamic and fluid. So whatever is green now may not be green 24 hours later. So that's one of the biggest concern which I have for all of us in this panel and for everyone globally. Taking a step back, see, this is not the first ever crisis mankind has faced and will never be the last, right? We had the crisis several times. 2008, the global financial crisis was a similar way. However, what I see in this particular crisis is twofold effects, and which we call the supply shock and the demand shock. While in 2008, if people compare, it was more of a demand shock effect, right? People were more sentimental. There were issues in terms of loss of income, weaker global demands, and discretionary power being left. This time, this is a complicated shock because it's not just a demand shock, it's also a supply shock, wherein we are saying there will be issues on factory shutdowns, labor shortages, disruption in input supply. And we just heard our fellows, if we don't get a packing material, where will you pack it? If I don't get a labor, how will I do it? Right? If my factories are supposed to be doing social distancing norms, leave productivity, but all other overall production goes for a toss. Eventually, all that leads down to a drying of cash flows. And above all, I believe all of us here are working in something which is having a fixed shelf life. We are into consumer, wherein FAV, which is freshness, availability, and visibility, are prime factors. And freshness becomes the very, very critical factor for us. If a consumer, if you go to a retail shop, you know, consumer generally puts a hand back at the last of the bottle to take it out because they also know that that's how it's being stocked. You know, the FIFO following. Now that's becoming a challenge at this point. So what I am seeing overall, before I jump into specific to the beer industry, is that this pandemic is going to create a lot of disruptions. It's not going to be the first time, but it's going to be for long. However, we as humankind tend to, you know, return back to our old days and old habits, which is very easy. I don't know how many of us are exercising for that matter, but then it tends to go back into normalcy. And eventually what we are saying is the disruption in the global supply chains and factory shutdown after the economy opens up also will impact most of the companies, whether it's a Fortune 500 company where I work or whether it's a Hatti Kappi where we are saying the revenues will be dwindling and cash flows will become a concern because you have to still engage our full-time employees. The impact on the demand side is, however, going to be more complicated. And this is where I want to spend another 30 seconds to a minute trying to deliver how this will change our way of thinking, just like Umesh was referring to SNOP and planning. You know, in the short term, and how these things will happen is in the short term, the perceived supply shortages could have induced or lead consumers to hold products, right? This will create excess demand. Now, that hoarding of products, especially in my case, right? I am like, the moment lockdown opens up, I think all my stocks will be gone because everyone wants to, you know, have everything in the shelf at home. The maximum WhatsApp messages which I've been getting from my friends and family is, can I get 20 cases of whiskey? And I'm like, what would you do with so much of it? They're like, we don't know how long the lockdown will again happen. And this is where gauging the demand, which is the real demand versus a holding, right? Even at top floor level, even with the distributors, wholesalers, and then back up with the consumers, is going to have a ripple effect on the upstream manufacturing. As we call it as bullwhip effect, will really play a really important role. So while pickles can be saved, Rajiv, putting more oil, for example, I'm sure Umesh's and milk and beverages, there's a shelf life and there's a freshness. Modern trade, if it opens, they want 70% freshness norm. It is going to have a big effect on the supply chains. There will be lot of inventory write-offs in future because the production will be the BUPs, if I call, or the zone business heads will be pressuring us to produce more and more because they are seeing the first signals of demand. But the question is that demand a true demand, or is it a holding demand? And by the time you will try to take a reverse action of correcting the signal, a lot of things would have flooded the pipeline. This is the same thing which will happen in my industry and any other industry. So coming to beer, if so there are two things. As we are saying before the start of this conversation, is beer essential or non-essential? Is what is defined by National Disaster Act, in which point number 8 is saying beer, alcohol as such, and cigarettes and tobaccos are non-essential commodity in a national disaster. But state governments are run only by 3 taxes. They get taxed from sale of alcohol, they get taxed from sale of cigarettes and tobaccos, and they get taxed from sales of stamp duties or state taxes. Now, one side we are saying state governments need to take care of this pandemic by spending more, and their revenue streams being dried down because these two of the major constitute 70% of the overall state revenues, which is alcohol and cigarettes, are closed last 40 days. Jokingly, one of my friend was saying one stick of cigarette costs him 11,020 rupees. 20 rupees for the stick of the cigarette and 11,000 for the fine if he gets caught. Right? Now, if these are some things, I believe fundamentally we are up for a lot of challenge, specifically on the supply side. Now, coming specific to the beer, I have a lot of beer in the corporation, thankfully, but there will be a lot of demand, and we are gearing up and readying it. There's a second challenge which comes up, and it's that of acute shortage of labor. As what our fellow panelists were saying, acute shortage of transport, which will happen up because I am willing to give 10% more over and above my contracted prices. Umesh might be willing to give 20%. In that case, the winners in this case will be transport, right? While the companies will start bleeding on their macro levels or the EBITDA levels. So that's the second piece. The third piece coming to Corona as such. Well, yes, we have this brand. This is a 100-plus-year-old brand. We have been responsible not saying anything about this brand, not coming up with any apps or any ads for that matter. We have been silent globally. I'm sure people who know Corona beer talk as Corona beer and not say Corona as coronavirus alone. So, and these are short-term memories. I think that's a fabulous product we have in our portfolio. It's like Coca-Cola and Umesh's portfolio, right? It's there to live. It's built to last. That's from my side.
Yeah, thanks, Akhil. Thanks for that pretty wide perspective on things. Let me now quickly go to Ankur, who's been patiently waiting to hear everybody out. But from Ankur, your perspective, I think like you are smiling right now, Rocket would be probably smiling at the future, right? Because considering that the change in habits, the more demand for resilient products, protein, and also as Girish was mentioning, the shift towards vegan or vegetarianism, so more plant-based protein. So this looks like a very bright future for a company like Rocket. How are things being strategized to gear up for this demand? Give us a sense of that. What's the thought process, etc.
Yeah, I think thanks, Rishi, and I think being the last but not the least, I think I just want to start with that. I think first of all, we all agree that this pandemic which we are seeing is one of its kind, and nobody can predict what will be the future. Means in terms of definitive scenario. So whatever what we are doing is in terms of experiencing in the initial days. First week was the kind of experience which we were having, and then basis on that we were deciding what going to happen. So if you talk about Rocket in a sense in terms of serving to the food, pharma, nutrition and feed market, majorly, are most of the business in India, I think divided into majorly 2 segments. One is 50% of the segments which gets into the direct consumer, which is like food companies, pharma companies, and 50% goes through the trade channel. Okay, so trade channel, that's where I think we are getting the major hit, because that's where the whole supply chain is getting disrupted. your traders, distributors are not actually working because of the non-clarity in terms of whether they are allowed to open, the markets are not open. So that segment is majorly impacted. But in terms of shift in the demand, I think the categories like fibers, which is for health digestion system, proteins, the excipient segments, which is into the pharma solutions, there we clearly see a upsurge in the demand, and that actually going to help us in terms of further driving a strategy towards food, nutrition, and health segments, focus more and more, and see how we can directly channelize that sale to direct consumers. Okay, so there, I think there are few of the initiatives which is really helping us in terms of putting up some online portals, which was never being a legacy business model for us in terms of going through distributor, traders, and all. But now in some of the areas throughout the world, we are also getting into the online sales to these kind of products, to the direct consumers who are actually willing to take smaller quantities, but not on the only the full truckloads. So in terms of majorly the change which we are seeing in the feed industry also, because the dairies are continuously running in, and when dairies are continuously running in, so animal feeds consumption is continuously stable. We don't see any surge because the consumption patterns will remain same as of now. For milk and everything, there are continuous supplies are happening since post lockdown, so there is no surge, but that business is actually stable. But if we see from the industry perspective, where we are majorly in the starch and derivatives industry, which is serving to food and pharma nutrition. There actually we are running into a continuous process industry, where the biggest thing which you need to control is the cost, if you really want to see your P&L. And the current environment which is going in is actually putting a lot of pressure on the cost, and that's more than the demand, actually cost putting up more pressure to continuously run your systems. And that's where the important thing is, that how you actually sense your demand, and basis sensing that demand, how you organize your supplies in terms of consolidation of capacities, rationalizing your SKUs base, so that you can serve the demand which is there, which you can actually easily predict that, okay, there are certain stability in the market, or there are where there is no stability, I think that SKU has to go out of the portfolio. And basis on that, you decide that, okay, your cost effectiveness is running capacity at 50% only with one factory, or consolidating your capacity in such a way. So these are these kind of initiatives we are taking in terms of consolidation of capacities, acting onto the demand by sensing it on a daily basis. One of the panel members, I think Akhil and Umesh, has mentioned that demand planning and S&OP will play a big role. Yeah, definitely. But I think it will now no more going to be monthly or weekly thing. It will be basically a daily forecasting. Basically, it's not forecasting, but the sensing of demand. Means you need to be very, very close to your customers, very, very close to your consumers, to understand in terms of what are the changes are happening on a daily basis. And basis on that, you can organize your supplies, because it's not about running your plant. It is also about that whether your suppliers' plants are running or not. Whether your suppliers are available to serve you or not in that way. So I think it's very important in terms of consolidating the overall thoughts of demand sensing and supply, which will be going to be a key enabler for us in terms of servicing the need of food, pharma, and nutrition category.
Thanks, Ankur. Actually, you answered one of my next rounds of question. But what I also wanted to know from you was that does the company see any surge in demand in medium and long term from the other F&B industry at large, considering that there will be a larger consumer focus on the health products. So do you see that building up more than the usual in the coming months?
Yeah, I think definitely as of now, if we see our sales in the European countries and US, we really see that we are catering to majorly nutrition, pharma, and excipients at a large extent, and there the demand is actually going up. Means in terms of needs of the consumers and customers. But if we see in India, we are actually not witnessed this kind of means consumption pattern on the nutrition side much in earlier, but now being means this pandemic, the way it is impacting, and people are actually looking into their means eating behaviors, that okay, they should be more focused towards nutrition segments with the products which can boost the immunity. So definitely we see there will be a change in the demand, but how much, till what extent, whether it will come in 6 months or 1 year, that is still means basis on the shift which we'll see. But one more thing which is actually see, most of our products is also go into HoReCa segment, which is savory in terms of some of the nutrition diet segments, in terms of maltitol syrups, and these kind of things actually get into HoReCa segment as well. But being HoReCa, means we are not sure how when this segment will going to be recover, and whether the normality will come in 6 to 12 months of time, or it will take further longer. That uncertainty means going to balance the surge which you will have in your nutrition portfolio. So as of now, I think, yeah, definitely for company strategy perspective, it's really good thing in terms of means the things are moving into the right direction. The first thing which I think one of our panel members also mentioned, that the people are more towards vegan category rather than means non-vegetarian part of it. So means plant-based ingredients which is moving into proteins, and that kind of thing definitely going to help us in terms of driving strategy for the organization.
Thank you, Ankur. And then let me find out more for you from the manufacturers over here. So let me go to Suresh again and ask, are there any plans in the medium or long term to introduce new products, or have more marketing campaigns, strategize more towards highlighting health benefits of the products, and or introduce more new products by highlighting those? What the plans from your end? Suresh?
Sorry, can you come back to me, the question?
Girish, this was for Suresh. Is this
Okay.
Suresh or Rajiv? You can take it till Suresh comes back. Rajiv, how is your strategy to capitalize on this?
In business to consumer products where we are, it's not very easy to select a product, do the necessary R&D, and take it to the market. It needs a lot of go-to market strategy. But we have, as a company, very wide portfolio, and what we are realizing is that any product that is helping the consumer feed himself with nutrition, as Ankur was mentioning about protein. Our soya chunk category has a lot of protein. It has 50% protein. It's basically de-oiled soya bean cake, which is formed in a certain way to help you cook. So what we are seeing, that we'll have to ramp up capacity in the short term only in the existing product portfolio, whether it is soya chunk, whether it is Chinese sauce, whether it is ketchup, whether it is pasta. As Girish was saying, lot of these campuses and offices will have large number of people working from home. In fact, TCS announced 3 days ago that 75% of their employees will work from home. And what was the reason? I speak to L&T Infotech, where the CFO is my friend, that they have realized that working from home not only reduces cost, it has increased efficiency. Even for a company like us, we have found that in many departments, new leaders have emerged. They are self-driven and accomplishing much more. So even a smaller company, which is an FMCG company, is looking for 50% work from home for a long time to come. And all these L&T Infotech who have employees and lakhs, all these TCS. So as I had said, comfort food will be part of preparation at home, although there will be different kind of eating habits. Some people will go vegan, some people will not eat non-veg, some people will eat healthy, some people will exercise, some people will not exercise. But as R.S. Sodhi of Amul was saying, his cheese sales, despite the fact that HoReCa segment, where a large part of his cheese is consumed, is zero, still his cheese sales have gone up. His butter sales have gone up, despite the fact that a large amount of butter is used in the HoReCa segment. So they are looking at a 30% increase of sales in this. The only thing which has gone down, as he was saying, was ice cream. But ice cream is coming back big time, and it's already at 50%, as he was saying today. So what I'm saying is that with all this work from home, and you will have no one rule that fits all. People will eat comfort food. We Indians love taste. Sometimes 50% of us don't care about health while we are eating. There is a 20% segment that will eat healthy. There is a 20-30% segment that will stop non-veg. So there is room for everyone. And so we see that our comfort food accompaniment, which is the Chinese sauces and the tomato ketchup, all these, and the pasta, doing well. And for the people who are looking for nutrition, the soya chunk and all these things doing well. And after short term, our flagship product pickle also coming back. So we have no immediate plan to launch new categories, but to milk the categories which are in demand.
Okay, interesting view from Rajiv. Thanks, Rajiv. Suresh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I have a question
Go
for
ahead,
you
Suresh.
on the same subject.
Yeah, I think you are asking me if I am right. Are you planning to launch any new SKUs in this category?
Yeah, and also
if you
will
are-
there be a bigger focus on the health positioning for the health products going forward from your perspective? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so if you ask me, we have a big range of health. As I told you initially, sugar-free and daily digestive of 6 range is our totally immunity builder booster products. But due to lack of distribution setup, we missed out somehow in this time. Now we have a big opportunity because our big competitors, like I don't want to name it, because now due to shortage of supplies, there is a big scope for us where our a little bit premium range, and we are planning to develop our distribution in metros and second level is to reach and taste our products and give the samples and whatever we have in good health range products, we want to make it taste to the consumers and want to turn out some. That is our big focus is going to come up in coming 6 months time. Then that is a major
Any
focus
new
because
launches?
we already have a big range. New launches, yeah, as of now, there is no, except 1 or 2 we are into plan. So apart from that, we don't want, because we have big range of the products which can go very well. And I think a lot of people might have been tested because our product is very good in this, but due to distribution lacking and all, we are in a little bit back. So that in overcoming of 6 months, we are planning to come out from this.
Okay, Umesh, you are there? I think it's paused. Let me, Umesh, you're back. Umesh, how do you see in the medium come along? How will the soft drinks, beverages in that segment be countering this demand for health products? Would you be using proteins and positioning more on that side? What's the thought process to pep up the demand back?
Yeah, like I said, we're still right now restricting and more worried about the interim. Any which ways from a beverage point of view, I don't think 4 to 6 months or this kind of time is good enough for us to do R&D and come up with something, given all the approvals, all the way till Atlanta and so on. So I don't think that's the plan. However, I also don't think that the NPD portfolio will not get tested in the meanwhile. So whatever was in pipeline in Q1, I am sure that will continue to get tested in different pockets and different markets. But I don't see anything getting literally launched because it will need, like I said, all the discretionary spends will have to go for a toss for the next 6 to 12 months. I don't see any spends on marketing, promotion, schemes, media, advertisement. I don't think any organization is going to afford that right now. So everybody is going to just go plain and simple and try and maintain and meet back the demand which was pre-COVID. I think that should be the first focus ideally. Beyond that, I think once it stabilizes, once there are medicines, vaccinations, cure, etc. available, I think then is when we can accelerate. And any which ways for us, the next big season is 12 months from now. So it's next summer. So it's all experiment which will go on right now. And there will be no such hurry of doing anything in Q3, Q4, also Q1 for that matter.
Okay. I saw Akhil smiling in bit of an agreement with Umesh there. So Akhil, what's your views? How do we see, how can we use beer as a health drink and we get out of
Again,
this? There was a lot of.
Let me take a broader view and then distill down to my industry, which is much more regulated compared to all others who panelists.
Yes.
So Jack Ma from Alibaba just quoted something day before yesterday, and he said 2020 as a year, right? You need to survive. Don't worry about scaling up and thriving, because it's a survival mode at this point, and that survival instinct is something which, as human beings, we have to take up. So given that, I see most of us or most of the companies, the budget cut would be very rampant. We will not be looking at capexes, opexes, and other things. In fact, all the companies are looking at cut, especially given the fuel, also the oil prices tanking to the least. You will see a sort of a stagflation or a recession coming in globally as well. Given those outlook, what I'm seeing is innovations, as Umesh was rightly saying, whatever was in Q1 might get rolled out, right? But getting new money from the company where free cash flow will become challenging, specifically because your inventories movement and cycle turns become limited, right? It's very different. Now coming to a specific beverage category, and Umesh and I share the same seasonality on it. You know, our peak seasons are February through July, June in south and July in north. Post that, there's a trough, right? You do 60% of your businesses during these 4 months and then 40% in the last 8 months. No one, I believe, drinks so much of cola or beer for that matter in the month of November, December in North and Delhi, right? So frankly speaking, we have missed that bus for this time. So it's important to survive, right? It will be very important to go ahead and look at innovations. I am seeing, rather than innovation coming on product side, it will be more about delivery and reach. Specifically in my market, wherein the new route to markets would be important. So as I was jokingly referring, you know, people asking on WhatsApp, can you deliver beer to me? That's a new route to market. E-commerce, right? There's no e-commerce for delivering alcohol in India. Governments are thinking that they should now do bulk orders at distributors and then deliver at home of people rather than people coming to the market and buying it. Things like those could be innovating, specifically in terms of, if I may say, end mile or last mile logistics, or changes to route to market, because again, 30 to 40% of our consumption in the category happens on HoReCa and restaurants. So those are not going to be open for long. I mean, tourism, hospitality, travel, these three industries are going to be hit for next 18 months minimum before normalcy kicks in. So it's very imperative of how innovation happens, not on product, but on deliveries and supply chain as such, or distribution.
All right. So in fact, that is my next question, but I'll just take views of Girish on.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned about some focus on the health products. Would we see anything interesting launched by Hattikabi to get us back?
Yes, this 40 days has made us to go back to the drawing board, and we will be coming out with a lot of health products, and very shortly you will see big changes in the market.
That very tight-lipped but very interesting disclosure from Girish, the only person who agreed to launching some new things in a short while. So we look forward to that, Girish. I guess you are not in a position to disclose more, but you say it's short term. So when we open up, we will look forward to that, and that's a good way to create the curiosity in the consumers. All right, so let me talk about the supply side of the things and manufacturing and logistics. What innovations can we see as the situation has pushed us into as a process improvement on this side? I know there are constraints that everybody knows, and across the industry that is there in terms of social distancing, labor migration, and all. But what would this lead to? Would we see any kind of new processes, new innovation coming out in manufacturing and logistics as a result of this like Girish mentioned, everybody would go back to the drawing board to keep things on. Where to, Umesh, let me start with you first on, because you have a very, very wide reach in terms of distribution and the manufacturer. So let me get you on that first.
Yes, please. So I will split this into three. So the first one is during the lockdown. During the lockdown, the first important problem which we all had and continue to have is again demand planning. And the solution remains, like I said, controlled number of SKUs so that you can plan better, so that you have more efficiencies in production, so that you have more efficiencies in mixed pallet making. For people who don't know, we try and have efficiencies of dispatch and throughput through palletization and palletized transportation. So we don't too much prefer to load cases with 4 people, take 90 minutes on the dock. We normally have automation on the docks, where we have solutions which load 1000 cases in less than 3 minutes mindlessly. And we also have normal palletized forklift loading, which is close to about 80% of the entire volume which we sell plus move. So only 20% is what we touch, and that is primarily because of national key accounts, hotels, modern trade, and e-commerce, and those kind of niche small volumes. Now, doing palletized transportation, etc., also involves a lot of cost on mixed pallet making, which will also reduce. So all these efficiencies come to you, and like I said, there will be a huge pressure on productivity and savings, because there's a huge pressure, because you are right now actually back to the P&L of 3-4 years, like I said. So that's on demand planning during the lockdown. Again, during the lockdown and a little bit post-lockdown, from a manufacturing point of view, labor will be the huge issue, because labor has gone back. They are back to UP, Bihar, and it's very difficult to bring them back. The other biggest problem is drivers. So we have during the lockdown essential goods, non-essential goods, but do you still have abundant supply of essential goods? You don't, because still there is a problem of drivers. We have all suddenly realized that the most important part of the entire chain in the country is the poor little driver. If he does not agree to lift, आप essential or non-essential हो क्या फर्क पड़ता है boss? He is not going to make you stocks available. वो उठाएगा नहीं factory से. So driver is again one of the biggest problem which we are facing right now, which the industry will also face. The freight cost has gone 20-30% on an average up. It will go more up, I think. So the solution for that, what we are working on is, we have taken a special COVID insurance for the drivers, which is of course through the transporter, not direct. And this is not a medical insurance which is given for him for his medical expenses, because that anyways the government will take care of. This is broadly ensuring his livelihood the day he is tested positive, because he will have to undergo a medical treatment of 14, 28 days, God knows 2 months, whatever. So this is the biggest incentive which is working for us right now. So there are people like Nestle ITC who have taken it for distributors and labor as well. We have right now started only with the driver, and we feel it's getting a very good response. So all the dedicated drivers, close to about 1500, is what we have taken this insurance. So the day he gets positive, he gets a sum of 2 lakh rupees in his bank. So he's sure that that's a kind of incentive for him, and that's a kind of security for him. So this is helping them move back and come back to their jobs. So that is on labor, manufacturing, and transportation in terms of execution. Post lockdown, I think we will be into a situation where we will suddenly realize that you have capacities which are 2 to 3 times of what you're actually selling, because you're selling as per P&L of 2017. आपने 2018 में capacity add किया, 19 में किया, 20 में भी किया, and you were assuming a bang season, and you have all the capacities. So storage capacities, transport capacities will all go in vain. I think it will be important for us as an industry to look at collaboration and sharing capacities. We as we speak are sharing transport capacities with Unilever. We are almost trying to start with Dr. Reddy's next week. It's been more than a month where Unilever is using trucks which we had on fixed contract, which we are sharing with them. We are trying for warehouse spaces as well for food companies which could have a contra seasonality, like Britannia would have a season for Diwali and New Year and promotions in Q4 and Q3, and our season is gone any which way, so we have capacities which we can share with them. So I think collaboration should be the key, where we should have a lot of innovation coming on, where backhaul integration of transport as well as warehousing could play a key role. One other piece of innovation could be that people will not buy capital right now. There's no cash flow. People will not get into capital. Capex is gone for the 6 to 18 months, I would say, not even 12. So everybody is going to give away all the capital. Every capital which you invest has to be on a SaaS model. So just like you have a software as a service, you have to innovate models like Bolt, like Lease, like TCO, where you can try these technologies, because technology will continue to be relevant and start making sense. All Industry 4.0, we have seen and tried a lot of technologies which give you surprising paybacks. We assume 2 years, but we get less than 1 year. So there are a lot of such solutions. Like we used a IoT based solution in the dock management for yard. We thought 2 years, we are getting less than 1 year a payback. We were in a position to about actually roll it out to 15 sites. In terms of technology, I think RPA could be another shocker, where a lot of paperless transactions, a lot of RPA thing which should be accelerated. We are in that journey already, which should help, have contactless, manless, and a lot of paperless work which can be done through RPA. Even full or part of processes, I think, should be targeted through RPA. And I think that is something which we will try a lot in terms of technology in Q3 and Q4. So that's broadly the strategy from within lockdown till the time in a medium to long term post lockdown, how people should see your productivity, Rishi.
Thanks, Umesh. Some very, very interesting points. I especially liked your innovation around sharing of the capacity, because we heard something similar in the auto discussion yesterday, and the subscription models. So I think these are not something that you would have thought earlier, but you are forced to do it, and absolutely cost-saving thought process. Ankur, I want to go to you next and ask what's your experience there, and also I don't know, but are there any RM dependencies, and are you guys export out of India as well? Then how is that production affected as well from manufacturing perspective?
Yeah, I think I want to start with, I think, in terms of supply situations. Supply side, I think the innovation which we can only see as of now being a large manufacturing unit, continuous process, full 1,000 tons per day capacities in one plant. So what we are seeing is to build up some flexibility in terms of producing at 50% with the most efficient way of energy consumptions and all. So because then you need to put your cost down, and that's the key for us in terms of actually servicing the demand and be as nimble as possible in terms of changeovers, in terms of quickly moving from one product to another. That is not a normal for this kind of industry, and this kind of innovations are going to happen in the supply side, and this is already being started in some of the areas. Now in terms of raw materials, if we see, for us the major raw material is the corn. So we are the largest buyer of the corn, and that will be definitely going to impact us, because when we see currently the harvesting of rabi crop and all are getting impacted because mandi closures, no laborers are available for harvesting, and these kind of scenarios are putting pressure in terms of coming out the crop into the market. And if that raw material will be going to low, then it will be definitely going to impact you in terms of continuing your supply operations to meet the demand. I think the balancing part is there is a change in the demand which we will see next 3 to 6 months. We don't see that it will going to pick up what Umesh has mentioned. We are seeing that last 3-4 years P&L as of now, and the demand pattern will actually take minimum 6 months to time to come back to normal, or at least 12 months time for some of the other products. So I think for a larger capacity oriented and continuous manufacturing perspective, the only thing is to be surviving in this market is the cost competitiveness, and that cost competitiveness is going to be the key focus for us, whether it is from the manufacturing point of view, whether it is going to be from logistics point of view. And some of the things where we are seeing that the logistics warehouses are not being utilized, I think we will be going to consolidate that with our RM, PM, and FG warehousing together, that if we can utilize one alternate to another. Right now, I think that's not a normal. The companies are not allowed to do so with the quality compulsions. But I think taking some preventive measures and some extra precautions, I think we will be going to do that. So that would be the new model for us in terms of working.
Okay, thanks, Ankur. Rajiv, you were mentioning about the truck issues and labor issues and how you got out of it when you opened the discussion. Anything in the longer term, and considering that there is a possibility we can see those V curves or W curves in future, is there any mitigation plan to use technology or any other things like Umesh mentioned or Ankur mentioned from your perspective? You obviously know whom to go for extra warehouse capacity in this panel itself, but anything else from you?
No, in the kind of problems that we are facing, okay, technology is important, and that enabling people to work from home, the salesmen to work from home, that technology is important, but that technology is not very difficult as far as we are concerned. But to mitigate your labor issues, to mitigate the driver issue, there is no technology. It is all, how you are able, if in a small place like Jalgaon, which is a district town and is home to large industries like Jain Irrigation, which manufactures huge number of pipes, and Supreme Industries. So how do you get a share of that, larger share of the trucks that have arrived in Jalgaon with all the drivers at home and their families not allowing them to go out? To which Umesh said that they have worked out a insurance for them, which is working out. So as a small company or a medium company, we have not been able to do anything of that sort. But by being very aggressive, by having people who are on the prowl, so to say, to get those trucks, we are able to manage whatever we are able to produce. I would also like to touch upon the manufacturing side. The manufacturing landscape and you can say the layout has changed with the social distancing norms, with the collectorate people coming to the factory to check whether you are maintaining social distance norms. Some of the, as Umesh was mentioning, there is a pruning down of the portfolio. There is a pruning down of SKUs. We have done the same. The things that are not working, put those spare machines in the extra godowns or the whatever we have the space. Even some of them are lying outside, and create social distancing for people. And on every set of 25 people, we have one person who is always looking at the worker is using the mask and the cap and the visor or the face shield properly, and sanitizer being given to them every half an hour for no reason, so that they all the time they are we need to keep the food safe while the people are handling it. So we have a dual protection, mask as well as the face shield. So but with the most of the workers being not very educated, we have a supervisor kind of person who looks at whether they are using it properly or whether they have not removed it. So what I wanted to touch upon is that the manufacturing landscape and the social distancing norm has forced us to change the layout, and fortunately some SKUs are more in demand and we are able to do that. So we are using more human intervention. Let's say our Uttran Panchayat, where our major factory is, which produces 90% of our requirement, the Panchayat suddenly declared 3 days of Janta curfew. We need to save the village. We said from day one we were allowed, and food is an essential commodity. Never we were no. Then people who are supporting us, the village people are saying, the other party, opposite party is saying you have taken money from Nilons and that's why you're supporting Nilons. So all kinds of issues are coming which we need to practical issues. Then you have to approach the Tehsildar, approach the collector, and then get a phone call done. So we are using more human intervention at the higher level than technology to solve all these issues.
Okay, thanks, Rajiv. Suresh, I would imagine you would be looking at this opportunity to increase the market share as much as possible, as you kind of mentioned also in the. So, how are you planning that from manufacturing and logistics perspective to speed up the reach?
Yeah, first if it comes to the manufacturing, so where earlier I think somebody rightly said we have consolidated the SKUs which to be produced, which is less manual intervention is there, and how we can get our with 50% of the people with 100% output which we used to get pre-lockdown. So that planning we done initially when we opened on 27th within 3 days of time, and with 50% of the people where we used to get 100% of the tonnage which used to get earlier, that we are able to get with selected and planning SKUs, and these are have huge demand, even though some less demand also because of lack of shortage of market. So we are able to push our products very well into the market. So if you ask me, pre-lockdown, what tonnage used to produce, now with 50% of the manpower, we are able to get that much of production in the plant. So say we done actually our production planning done fantastic job on this. So that one thing we done. And if you ask me in future, yes, we want to go a lot of automation, because biscuit is a lot of price points is there for low price points and all. How we will make 70% of the manpower reduction, that we are seriously working on for future. If this type of situation comes, how we want to handle it and how we will be prepared. Then if it comes to logistics, as I told you, we have targeted, because we are into premium segment compared to our competitors. Initially, we concentrated on maximum on metros, all the metros. So where we can reach it fastly, and the distribution we are able to crack it, and the service big stores started servicing it. Where earlier per store used to purchase 10,000 per one bill. Now the people started getting 1 lakh, 2 lakhs also orders. So where earlier we are servicing, we can say out of 10,000 outlets we used to get, now in this condition we are able to get in 1,000 outlets. Same ratio of revenue. So that has given good advantage. Competitor reacted little quickly, but we are there on 27th itself from on the roads, our drivers, and actually a lot of people spoken on drivers issue on this lockdown period. But I am saying till date we have not faced single drivers issues or availability issue in this lockdown period.
And are you also offering them any benefits? Are you also offering the drivers any benefits?
Yeah, what Umesh told, it's 100% right, because we started day one, starting initiating in our social media as well as our internal, who are doing fantastic jobs, and also promoting them and safeguarding them. And insurance part also, what he told, that transporter incentives we already made it. And employees who are in this COVID time, who are out and going for supplies, our employees, sales team, as you shared, are through by phone call we are getting orders, and who are going physically to the stores and ensuring the deliveries. For them, we are giving extra benefits and safety precaution. More than money, now safety is important. So that how they continuously from morning, if it comes to the warehouse or distributor point, is morning what precaution to be taken, gloves, masks, and sanitizers. We used to give, including driver, to help every sanitizer. Bottles we used to give it to them. And availability due to non-essential moments are very less. So maybe that is the good sign. We are getting plenty of vehicles in my warehouse. Even today also waiting 50 vehicles per load.
Where in future,
we have one in Bangalore, one in Delhi, one is in Calcutta. 3 vehicles.
Okay.
There is in logistic. There is a problem of plenty at the moment.
In future, as I think Akhil and Umesh said, future once essential started moving and producing, surely the truck shortages will be going to be the big concern. So that we already estimated. Now we have to plan how to shut out the issues.
Yeah. So Girish, now your category is one which is like highly perishable, right? So how are you planning from that perspective? Any innovations on that front as well?
Yeah, as earlier one of the panelists was mentioning, cutting down the number of SKUs. See, we know that in our past few years of working in this industry, we know which are the categories which will move fast and which will be there will be a high demand. So we will be focusing on those SKUs, applying 80-20 rule, and see that we want to, because it's highly perishable goods, and we need to be very cost effective in terms of efficiency and productivity. So we will be cutting down, drastically cutting down number of SKUs in terms of the menu. So there we are going to work in depth, and we are going to make a mark on that.
Right. So I think this is something I hear from almost all of you is the trimming of the portfolio, the rationalization of the SKUs, at least in the short term is probably, but I don't think
Not
so.
only
Akhil, you,
not only rationalization of the products, in fact,
Mhm.
rationalization of the number of stores as well. We are
Right, in
present
your
in,
case,
yeah, especially for example, Infosys campus, we are there 12 stores. So
Mhm.
out of 12 stores in Electronic City, we will be finally operating with 3 or 4 stores. So
Yeah,
same with
that's
in the commercial locations as well. We are spread out in Bangalore, at least 15 locations. So we will be first thing you will be easiest and fastest will be the trimming down of the products as well as the
locations.
stores.
Yeah, and probably you would open up the high street locations first rather than the
Yes, as
crowded.
we speak, I was just sending a message to my team members to open up Jainagar store first tomorrow
Oh,
itself.
already next week.
Yeah,
Okay, all right. Right. So thanks, Girish. Akhil, yeah, I was going to you. I don't think so. You can play around much with the products and portfolio, but in terms of the innovation in the manufacturing and the logistics, especially because your first issue would be logistic, getting that material out and to the consumers, which you are sitting on a high inventory. Manufacturing is not your first priority at the moment. What's the strategy building up on that as we drew closer to the opening up? Oh, we can't hear you, Akhil.
Am I audible now?
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So I was chatting in one of the forums wherein all the major chief supply chain officers are a part of it. It's called CSCO. And the question amongst us was, who has really enthused you to think most on disruptions or digitization of your supply chain? Is it the CEO of the company? Is this the CTO of the company, or is it the COVID situation? Right. And the answer is very clear. COVID has asked or has infused us to look into real differentiators, how the supply chain of the world will move across. So in India, we do a lot of import and export of our barley and raw material, as well as we export our beer to Middle East and all places. Right. And it's a global business trade for me. Less so in India, but then we handle 25% of the global beer market. So that's quite a substantial amount when we look at a $100 billion company. What comes out very clearly is the way wherein disruptions need to be thought of. For example, on the buying side, and I'm not referring only to India right now, I'm referring to a wider geography wherein beer distribution is more liberal compared to regulation. The wider geography, what has happened is we have often seen a new surge in demand, and the surge in demand is coming through community buying. I believe most of us in today's scenario live in apartments, a set of 100 families together. And then all of a sudden we are saying now these 100 families pool together to get vegetables, fruits, a trolley coming in with only mangoes, and everyone buying it as a communicative buying, right? China, all of a sudden, there are 20 companies which have emerged in the last 2 years. In fact, if you look at the dates, September 2018 through now, there have been 7 companies who have done more than $500 million RMB business only on community buying. So the distribution footprint, I'm not sure about my industry per se because it's a bit regulated, but onto the business, So I know this CFO of Foods of ITC, for example, a good friend of mine, and we just all checked in our boxes to get Fable chocolates delivered onto our houses as community, right? Example, the B2B business lines are going to be higher, and wherein your apartments are now considered as one buying community. So you are doing two things there. You are bypassing the transporter problem because you're sending to one place rather than to a B2C customer. Second, you're also looking at getting an apartment as one enterprise by itself or a business account. Now it might vary basis, if I am based out of Bangalore, so a thing like Shobha City, wherein there are 5,000 apartments, versus a place where I live, Shobha Petunia, where there are 150 apartments, and the buying power and the quantity differ. But this is a new scale of development which is happening and is forcing people to think afresh. That's on the supply side. So maybe we don't need trucks going forward. Maybe we need small shift loads straight to reach to the customer in this case, right? Things like those might change, and these are real innovations which are happening in my industry. As I said, e-commerce, I've never heard of beer or alcohol being distributed through e-commerce, but who knows? There's a company which is HipBar, which is looking at disrupting this place. So things like those are going to really change. Now coming on to the manufacturing footprint, very clearly, and Umesh has covered most of it. Digital is the new world. We have tried several things. We have tried to get ROIs within 2.5 years as our mandated capex, but the ROIs are coming in less than 9 to 10 months. So, for example, I believe in Umesh and my industry, both RGBs, or returnable glass bottles, are the most are the PNL hard for our PNLs, right? Now, of course, Umesh can do a deposit scheme and safeguard his bottles. I can't because I sell it to governments and I don't have a deposit scheme. So I need to bankroll on that network of what we call scrap collectors, right? Who do it through a value chain and bring back my bottles back. Now look at that level of disruption which will happen, because now those scrap collectors are not going to each home and collecting those bottles. And that's a $50 million problem for me. It's not a small problem. Now these are looking at really disrupting the revenues in terms of, now we are looking to blockchain and probably trace each of my bottle, if that's possible as a technology, which I never thought before, because I was taking it for granted that I'll get my bottle. So without a packing material, I mean, what will I pack my beer in? I cannot have a milk can and pack my beer and send it to the customer. I need a bottle, and I need a crown which comes all the way from China. And with the global disruptions, I believe real lead time indicators like shocks, thermal, humidity variations, and all those will really transform the landscape of how supply chain officers are starting to track their inventory movements. Not just small hauls, but long hauls. There will be a big disruption in short hauls, which is what we are saying, directly from family to apartment, maybe as an option, right? And second, as long hauls, which is global logistics, because I need to check where my inventory is today. If it has come from China, is it still stuck in Hong Kong, or is it in my port somewhere in Nhava Sheva? Those things are really going to be transformative in nature, and these are forcing functions because of COVID. But believe me, in long term, that will really help evolve supply chain. And I'm very big prognostic of saying this statement, from a cost center to a profit center, because things will change. No more we will consider sales as one of the guiding force for any companies. Amazon is the biggest company which owns no products of its own. Yes, they do have white labels, but they started as a primary logistics company and it's the biggest in the world now. It's how much effectively availability and freshness of your products are there on the shelf. Out of the three components of FAV, the sales and marketing takes care of V, which is visibility. Freshness and availability is going to drive it now. And that's all with these 6 people here which are discussing, and probably another 28 people on the panel who are listening to us, because we are going to drive the business going forward. You can create demand. If I don't supply, you can't service the demand.
So Akhil, I think there you kind of summed it up as well. Like one of the panelists in the consumer goods segment said, this is our time from supply chain perspective. it's becoming the most important function and the most go-to function in coming out of this crisis. So thanks a lot to all of you for your views. I see the clock and we are like 34 minutes beyond the schedule. So there's a lot to discuss in this segment, and especially all of you almost representing each vertical under F&B. But this is all the time we have today. I'll just ask Sheetal if there are any questions from the participants. We'll take maybe one or two and then we'll let you go. Sheetal, do you hear me? Are there any questions?
Yeah. So there are quite a number of questions, in fact. So
Okay.
I'll be
Maybe you can quickly choose just a couple of them.
taking the first one, which is to Umesh. So what kind of changes in technology? Actually, a lot of
If it has already been addressed, you can skip it. I think on technology, Umesh already addressed. Take the ones which we haven't. I think I saw one to Akhil regarding the home delivery of alcohol, something like that. Somebody is worried.
I'm the one who asked for Akhil.
Oh, Girish, you asked. Okay, you can ask directly then.
So Akhil, quickly, why government is not
Yes, I've
allowing
seen the question. Why government not allowing home delivery of beer in India? Unfortunate, actually, because they are losing revenue. They need to come out of this bureaucratic way of excise, if I may say that. When I'm really passionate about this business and about consumer really getting what they want. So I'm sure beer and why we are very specifically talking of beer as a company is we are of course having the 200 brands globally, and in India we have around 15 with SKUs. It's a drink of moderation. It's not like people are drinking beer to get intoxicated. There are different avenues wherein you can drink a lot more of other consumption and become intoxicated. Beer is to really refresh. Beer is really to feel happy. And in this tense times, it really is important for us to feel relaxed and really unwind ourselves. And this is one drink. Of course, there is Coke and there is other drinks as well. This is one drink which really helps people rejuvenate, right? And that's where, I mean, it's very unfortunate. Government gets a lot of, state government get their revenues from here, 60% of the revenues from Alcobev, and they're not allowing this. As I said, there's a company which has a major stake from Diageo to look into distribution, but excise gave a license in 2016 and withdrew that back in 2018. Assume that license would have been there, you and I would have been doing a cheers right now. It's already 4:37 and a Saturday evening. So would have been a good time for everyone. Unfortunately, it takes a bit of a bureaucracy to get out of the dated norms.
And I hope all the changes that we are hoping
to all the panelists.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the question is, with China, a lot of restrictions coming in on China. What are the opportunities Indian manufacturing sector can tap from China?
Yep. Maybe I thought we don't have time for that question because we discussed that yesterday. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, leave it.
I can take that up because my porting office is Shanghai, so hopefully I can also do a justice in terms of the global trade. So, and I worked in US before this for around 4 years. See, very basically, the most hit countries in the world are Europe and US, right? These two have been the consumption-based economies, unlike India, where it's more of a value for money grade. They indulge in a lot of luxury items and they don't manufacture anything, right? Even the meat and food items come from various places, from China, Mexico, and likewise. Hence, China has been able to have a very big manufacturing setup, both for consumables and non-consumables, like Apple's manufacturing in Shenzhen, as an example, and they have to delay their entire launch of Apple iPhone 13. So what is happening is, while China as an economy has taken steep measures, and they are now running full-fledged for manufacturing again, as if it's being sarcastic here, but as if it's their pedigree to conquer the whole world with manufacturing at one place. given this disruption again, and this is one of the big points which did not capture, there is going to be an enormous shift in the footprint. The manufacturing is going to shift out of China. The question is where? Whether it's going to be Indonesia, Japan has already pulled out, for example, or Bangkok and Thailand, or Malaysia, or for that matter, India. And the problem is, unless Indian government starts enticing the corporates to get manufacturing back in India, this is all going to be in Southeast Asia rather than in South Asia. It will all go to Indonesia, Thailand, and other places.
Right, Akhil, and we actually discussed this yesterday as well in auto, and I was expecting a very positive response, but the thought process there was very different, and not seeing this happening in very near future, and not because so much of the government policies, but because of the cultural issues that we have. We just can't match China in terms of the culture of discipline and the scale. So that it's seen as a bigger problem than the but again, that's a different discussion. I think I'll have to close here at 16:40, so thanks a lot for sharing your views. It was really a good discussion, a lot of interesting points. I wish you all a very, very safe stay wherever you are, and we really hope to come out of this very soon and meet in person as well over a drink and biscuits and some pickle as well. In Hatti Copy, maybe.
Beer is on me anytime.
Hey, thanks a ton.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rishi.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
For joining in.
Bye.
Bye-bye.